And oh my God,
Hi, everybody.
we feel so lucky that we have her. So
Oh,
Suzie describes herself as a multimedia artist at large. And she's just been all kinds of art all her whole life. So she's an actor and she's been in things like Everyone Loves Raymond. She's been in Wag the Dog, Mad About You, and my favorite Star Trek. I have to not Star Trek geek out on you. And then you wrote a book, a really beautiful book called The Adventures of King Lillian.
the
Uh,
return of King Lillian.
the Return of King Lillian. I know it's run some awards. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, it has. Should
And
we? Oh, go ahead. You go.
yeah,
I
I
don't
just
want to
want to
step
know
on your.
how you're doing. Let's just how are you? How's things out in California? I'm on the East.
Things are fine. My hair's frizzier than I would like it to be for a Facebook Live, but hey, it's
So,
a, that's a high class problem these days. For some
I
reason, I'm
know.
like half my face. Oh, there it is. Okay, this is why
Yeah.
they this is why they fired me from NASA. Is what I always say. And it's raining and it's lovely and all that good stuff. And the reason that Lisa and I are convening today is that I was I happened to listen to one of your wonderful discussions with one of your wonderful other healers. As we know, you're such a marvelous healer, and then a quite dramatic thing happened in my apartment building at the dawn of all of this, sheltering and all that stuff. And it was fraught with a bunch of lessons, and it inspired me to write you that little note of, what we ingest right
Right.
now being super important. Now, just before we start or before I get into this, I need to say to you folks out there, I am not an expert. I am not writing a book about this. I'm just another human getting by and getting through this the best way I know how. And so there was this seminal moment in which I was reminded of lessons I already knew. So to make it as short a tale as I can, a very beloved neighbor who was battling a migraine, this is just at the beginning of all the isolation, was perhaps helping herself, or thought she was, with some wine and some pot and isolation and the news. And it's about 12:30, 1 in the morning. And just as, everybody's about to either they're in the middle of sleep or about to lay down and get there, somebody heard screaming, called the cops. It goes from 0 to 100 in terms of every molecule alert. What's
Wow.
going on? Lots of yelling, lots of um, bottom line, just to know for for you folks out there, she's fine. She was fine rather, the next day. But two lessons that I was reminded of during this drama, and it was drama because they're trying to break the door down. There are about 12 cops, and it's just at the beginning, so I'm standing with other neighbors, socially distant, and right at the height of them smashing the door and not able to break it in, one of my neighbors, very beloved friend, gay guy from New York City, turns around. I can't remember the exact line, but he said something like, she's lucky that cop is hot. Something to that effect. But it was the delivery and the timing. And it was like there was this balloon that was at its greatest tension, and he just popped it. And I had to step into my apartment, laugh my head off, and come back to the doorway somewhat composed. And
Hmm.
that moment, as laughter will do, it was like a palate cleanser for all of that trauma drama. And I was about 90% better and 90% more grounded and able to contain that experience. The other thing, at the end of the night, when I looked out the window and there were about 4 or 5 cops left at the end of the night, or well, early in the morning, and I saw a sight I had never seen before that was riveting. And they were laughing their heads off. They were telling stories. I don't know what they were talking about, but they were trading stories and and I mean, hands on their knees, screaming with laughter. And it was so moving to me because I thought, wow, do they need this? Wow, do they need that? And you know, on a regular day, I'm sure, let alone
Oh
everything
yeah.
ratcheted up now. So it was this incredible reminder that in terms of immunity hacks, laughter, sense of humor, all of that is, you know, you take your vitamin C, you got to find ways to laugh, because I mean, I literally felt it so physically at that moment. The other thing that was a cautionary tale, you know, this woman, very loved, very efficient and together and all of that. But, you know, we all have, unless of course we've had the perfect childhood and the perfect life, we all kind of have these fissures in our
Mm.
psyches, and experiences like this. And I can say this because I live in earthquake country. I'm in LA. They're kind of like a rolling earthquake under our lives, you know,
Right.
of emotions, and the wrong ingestion. I'm not saying don't have wine or don't have pot or don't watch the news or don't whatever, but
Mm.
it's about it's about selection for me,
Right.
certainly, and screening of what comes in,
Yeah.
you know. Because I heard you talking as well and saying, you know, I'm an empath. What do we do?
Mm.
And I'm an empath too. So generally, I mean, not to the extent that I can charge people to read their lives for sure, but um, but I've always been really pretty cautious about what I take in and when and how far, and my body's the barometer for all of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's such an incredible story. And I mean, I think it's hard sometimes to laugh during this time. I mean, as much as I might want to, like I feel guilty, or I feel like am I a bad person if I'm laughing, or if somehow I'm laughing and enjoying this, am I um making light of other people's suffering? Like how do we deal with that? How do we
Well,
steer that?
I mean, I can only say how I deal with that. I was raised, I'm not a religious Jew, but I was raised culturally Jewish. And what I would hear a lot during my childhood was, it's so bad, you have to laugh.
Right.
Because laughter is a strengthener, and
Mhm.
perspective is a strengthener, and laughter gives you perspective. It's not like you're going, oh my God, isn't it hilarious, all these people are dying. That's not it's not the kind of sense of humor I'm talking about. I mean, it behooves us, I think, or at least me, I have to get through it,
Mhm.
um to 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 find ways to stay balanced. It's like eating a balanced diet of food is eating a balanced diet of what you take in.
Right.
And you know, those cops weren't bad because they were laughing at whatever the hell they were laughing at. I
Right.
wasn't bad because I was laughing because he made this hilarious joke in the midst of all of it. It's because we only wanted her to be well, but we come into it stronger by not, you know, by not just having every molecule vibrating with worry. That doesn't really serve either, you know.
Right. I
um
mean, there's a lot of science around laughter as kind of a curative too. Like there, who was that? Was it Norman Cousins who cured himself of cancer by watching movies and making himself laugh?
Did he? I never heard that.
Yeah, yeah. There was and he said that he laughed 20 minutes to half an hour every day, and he really helped himself that way.
Absolutely. I mean, that actually is validating for me, because I used to say, of course, I've never done it, but I used to say, you know, I really ought to leave instructions if I ever am really sick, of a list of funny movies and
Right?
funny shows for people to play, you know, Young Frankenstein, or there's a great show I always tell people to, I don't think anyone listens to me, but I do tell my friends. I'll be like, there's a show, if you love British humor, which I do, any UK humor,
Yeah.
there's a show called Would I Lie to You? I just say that to everybody out there, on BritBox,
All
that
right.
is full. First off, bottom line, I hate game shows, and it's a game show, but it doesn't matter who wins. It's not a game show. It's
Mhm.
just about,
I have seen that. It is really funny.
it's so funny, just to
Yeah.
tell the folks listening what the premise is. which I would be so bad at. You see, the whoever's there reads a card that they've never seen before, and it may say something like, "When I was 6 years old, I successfully robbed a bank with friends." And then put it down. And then everybody has to ask questions to determine if it's true or if it's a lie.
Mm.
And the wits on that show are so funny. And the reason I bring it up too, something like that, is if it's absorbing, it kind of sweeps you up. And I believe it's a healing event, to listen to that and laugh, even though it has nothing to do with, not even though, because it has nothing to do with coronavirus and people suffering, because you need to gain strength. And this is not to say, and this is just something, that I do and that I feel that, of course, I'm gonna go. I want to be aligned with the nurses and doctors and hear what they're going through. I want to, but I want to be strong and happy, so that when people come to my door and deliver things, I can say, "Thank you. You're such a hero. Thank you so much." Or be there for my friends who are going through stuff, or my family, whatever. But,
Yeah.
and to me, it's an absolute strengthener. So it's anything but, if you're in touch with the rest of it as well,
Right. Yeah.
like, about, don't quiz me, but because my linear sense of time is not good, but let's say it was a week and a half ago, something like that. I opened up Facebook, and somebody that I worked with 20 years ago, who I ran a show with for about 6 months, died of coronavirus. Hit me like a ton of bricks. Cried and
Wow.
cried. Now, haven't seen him in 20 years. In the best of times, in the best of deaths, I would not be invited to a funeral.
Mm.
But for a lot of reasons, it was a moment that I think the only way out is through. I really just sink into it and think, "Oh God, the poor guy," and cry. He may have died, in a hallway, looking at a terrible fluorescent light, alone and gasping for air. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's like life throwing a medicine ball at us and going, we're part of this too, even if we're at the moment very safe and grateful to be safe from it. So
Right.
after, I kind of went there and cried and went, "Okay, fasten your seatbelts, because
Mm.
this could be the first. This could be the first. Could also be the last, that I know personally, but could be the first." And then, as I was thinking about him, a couple of funny stories from the show came up into my brain. And I thought, I think I'm going to write him a little obit or something, and just put it on my Facebook page, just for my own whatever. And because I know there's a lot of theater people on my, theater friends on that page. And so I wrote this little remembrance of him, how he was during these moments, that he was a pro, that he was a good guy. And somehow or another, the writing of that, but I'm convinced, because they were funny stories, that's just the way I operate. I felt like I contained it. I didn't feel like I was going to keep going and keep going, and it was just going to flood my banks, and I was going to be laid out. Now, again, maybe very different if it's somebody who's much closer. But
Right.
I just feel, I've been asking a lot of friends for, what's your immunity hack? And, somebody go, "Oh, I hear you. If you take a lot of zinc, it's really good for this." "Oh, okay, I'll take more zinc." And for me, it's like 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C and zinc. And, I love Lucy.
Old Peter Sellers movies.
Old Peter Sellers movies. Yes,
Like the
exactly.
old Pink Panther movies. That's what does it for me.
Yes. And also, and I think we have to seek it out. And the screening is very important too, as well as the selection. There are certain things, and we don't, I'm hesitating, because I'm trying to figure out how to say this without going toxic, at least for me. In the political arena, shall we say, about what's going on, what's not being done, and who he is, and all the people around him, and all that stuff. Like, I don't really need to see more memes about what an idiot or whatever. I'm good. Right now,
Mm,
I don't need to hear him talk or anybody. I can keep informed, but that can be way at the periphery. I can
mhm.
skim past, see what I need to see. Because when I plug into that, it's like rooting around in an ashtray and eating a cigarette butt and expecting it to be nutritious. And it's
Exactly.
anything but, and it's totally, totally toxic to me. So I just screen certain things,
Yeah, I think that's wise.
you know?
It's really smart to do that. And especially, I think the more sensitive we are, the more we have to monitor what we take in and not let it like bring us down. And where it collects us into that fear, the cultural fear, the hive mind fear that we're all a part of, and we, that's not that's something we have to be careful. It's super interesting too from an energy medicine perspective that you can clear your energy field through by crying or laughing. Either one.
Yeah,
And some people, when I do healing work with them, laugh on the table, and it's
I'll
like just
bet.
big an energy release as crying is, and I do think that laughter does something to your brain chemistry that boosts your immune system, pretty powerfully.
No question about it. No question about it.
Yeah.
Again, when I was in that situation and my friend made that crack in the middle of something so dramatic, it doesn't get more dramatic than it was. And the people watching, myself included, obviously, could not have been more triggered on
Mm,
every level. And for him to say that and release it, suddenly I had perspective on the situation as well and
mm,
could contain the situation as well.
yeah.
And that's really essential for your physical health, for my physical health anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the other thing in terms of screening and humor, there are certain generally political comics or wits that I like on Facebook. So if, I hear Andy Borowitz make a crack of something that I can't find the funny in, then I'm better. That laugh out loud is like, box rescue remedy for me.
Mm,
It makes me feel sane again. Um, but also, I think another arrow in my quiver for sure is certain kinds of art,
mm,
certain kinds of,
yeah.
I remember many years ago, I just burped on Facebook Live. Let's just be honest. Um, really. um, uh, uh, However long ago, I was going through a super dark place in life, real dark tunnel. And it was when Netflix was still DVDs.
Mm,
And I had ordered Upstairs, Downstairs, the original Upstairs, Downstairs, the whole
mm,
series. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. And every night I would come home and put another episode of Upstairs, Downstairs on. And because, if you watch it again now, you might go, oh, it's just on video, whatever. But the acting is exquisite. The writing is
yeah.
exquisite. Everything is so brilliantly done. And the thing about it is, especially when we're feeling dark sometimes dark needs to meet dark. It's not something you can laugh at. Sometimes,
Yeah.
they dealt with so much tragedy in that show that it gave my feelings of despair a context,
Right.
you know, and that too I find to be incredibly strengthening and incredibly healing.
Yeah.
Um, but like I would never, for instance, watch the movie, I don't know, Contagion, is it called? I
Mm.
got no use for it. It's not going to do me any good, but trigger the hell out of me and whatever.
I just
And
watched it the other day and thoroughly enjoyed it.
did you?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's not something I would head towards.
That
Never.
it was a little bit of the hair of the dog that bit you kind of for me.
Got it.
It felt like
Exactly. I totally get it.
it felt like a vaccination or an inoculation, but I like that kind of movie anyway. But I do think, Susie, people like you who are real artists, and you're a multimedia artist. You're also a musician, a writer, sculptor, an actor. Like you're the
Or
real.
maybe just a dilettante. I don't know. I mean, that's possible as well.
You're the real deal here, and I think real artists process their emotions through art. You know what I mean? Through doing art, through consuming art. It's really like a very soulful way to actually process your feelings. And I think for those of us that, I mean, I'm not really, don't consider myself an artist, but I do think that all of us can be impacted by art. You know, that it's a
Oh,
healing or by consuming art, by like looking at art, or listening to music. For some people it's music, and they find their liberation, their expression of their emotion through music, or by fine art, or through theater, like we were talking about upstairs downstairs, that can help us work through our own emotions, express our own emotions in a way that we can't do it, but we can ride along the wave with somebody else doing it.
right, right. You know, it's funny you said about music. Oh, sorry. Were you about to speak another sentence
Yeah,
and I
no,
stopped
that
on
was
it?
it.
Okay.
That was it. That was
The
good.
thing, the thing about music is, too, is that I always think of emotions as liquid,
Hmm.
and and then if an emotion is stuck, I'm not saying I always follow my own prescription, but you know, maybe I'll put on 3 songs of Motown and dance, and something has moved a bit
Right.
somehow. You know, I just think that that again, using my body as a barometer, I might, like the other day, I saw a meme that was really frightening by a doctor in the ER, and it wasn't, you know, I mean, he deserves to have to write that meme. And I saw it and grokked it and kind of kept moving, and didn't realize that in spite of the cat videos that I had sought out, or whatever it was to kind of
Baby's
soothe.
laughing, baby's laughing.
Babies laughing is, yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and the thing is that that's not slight, what we're talking about. Looking, you know, that is, that's medicine, and it's
Mm,
good medicine, and and it's, you know, it's if we're naturally going to be aligned and moved by by fear for our friends, ourselves, our loved ones, by the people who all over the world who are scared and suffering.
mm,
Okay, that's kind of a given in a lot of situations. So it doesn't help anybody to completely dissolve into woe. And I think that, you know, it's like I saw a cat in some video on a railing, reaching over, using a door knocker to knock on a front door. I watched it 3 times. I thought it was not just hysterical, but medicinal. It kind of soothed it. I just happened upon it, whatever day that was. It soothed my spirit somewhat. It just kind of
yeah.
smoothed it out. It's a balancing thing, I think, you
Right.
know? It's dancing with all of the different things that come at us. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, these are kind of high class issues, because I'm not doing a job that I have to go out every day and
Mm,
deal and dance with that fear and dance with all of that and exhaustion, etc. So I figure the least I can do is keep myself together as best I can. I mean, that sounds sort of self-righteous. I don't really mean it that way. I just mean, you know, it's there was another meme, something like, your parents, your grandparents were asked to go to war, you're being asked to sit on the couch.
right.
And like, yeah, so, oh well. And I just think that to be cautious about what it is that you're chomping on. And some people, anger gives them strength. You
Right.
know, like there's a very dear friend of mine who, you know, once in a while is posting things that might say, oh, this is a conspiracy of big pharma or whatever. Well, truth is, love her, open up to it for a moment, and then I go, you know what, when
Mm,
it's over, I'll think about that.
right.
But right now, I don't need to think about it,
Mm.
because nobody's calling me going, Susie, what do you think about big pharma and all that? You mean, you know, if they did, I'd be happy to tell them. But no one's calling me. What's that thing that says, talk about memes? I'm like meme happy. I think meme makers all over the world should be. given awards. Relax. Nothing's under control.
Yep. I like that one too.
Right? It's an
Yeah.
old saw, but it's really good. It's really good.
Mm.
So, oh, and the other one, did I say this already? But I know that it's in my head. Don't use your imagination to scare yourself to death, but to inspire yourself to life.
Mm. It's a really good one.
That's a good one. I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know who said it. A
Yeah.
meme.
Good meme.
A meme maker, but it's a really valuable one. And again, just another
Our
chick
imagination is one of our greatest creative forces. It's
that
like
what? Sorry, you cut out.
it's like one of our greatest creative forces, our imagination. It's like how we bring our creation into reality is through thinking about it through our imagination. And so when we use our imagination for art, for creativity, for humor, for love, we're bringing those things into being. And when we let fear take our imagination, are we bringing those things into being? Like
Yeah,
it's part of like actually the spiritual training that I'm doing is my spiritual teacher has me working on controlling my imagination.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and controlling in terms of you know in all. I was just thinking the thing about the nurses and the doctors. I can, and me feeling into this guy's sad death. You can go there and feel it and experience it, and I just it's fine to be compassionate and cry, for sure. There's nothing wrong with that, and as a matter of fact, it's called for. And I actually think at this moment in time, fear has a justifiable place at the table, but I ain't feeding it if I can possibly help it.
Okay.
you know other wonderful attributes get cake, but not fear.
Let's talk about King Lillian.
Oh, how nice of you. Thank you. You
Yeah.
know, it's very wild when you say, when I think about, ingesting things, and I'll say sort of a pushy promotey thing, but it's a pushy promotey thing because it was a nice compliment that I was given by a sound healer who's kind of a King Lillian fan. And she said, there's the chapter that's called Wherein a Peculiarity Comes in Mighty Handy, the chapter where Lillian visits with the pink purple periwinkle peacocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she said she listens to just that chapter right now because it
Wow.
really soothes her. And so that made me feel like $1,000,000.
That's great.
And yeah, it's called The Return of King Lillian. It was a soul imperative, I guess. Had to be done, had to be written. And speaking of which, because you were kind enough to mention, it's been nominated for a couple of awards here and there. I realized we didn't talk about this, so forgive me for ambushing you, but I just realized that when there was another awards event that The Return of King Lillian was nominated for, and I was supposed to go, but it was canceled, of course. But I have about, I don't know, like 5 or 7. I don't know if you can see this. It's a flash drive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's purple. It's not blue. It's looking like an icky blue. Very important that it be purple. Anyway, and that you kind of flip open, whatever. And
Cool.
yeah, and you stick it into your computer, and it's got the audiobook and the ebook on it. And
Wow.
I think I haven't counted them, but I just kept right before it was like, oh yeah.
So
Uh,
cool.
if somebody wants to, I don't know how many are left. It could be like 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that vicinity. But if somebody wants to write me at Suzie@kinglillian.com and get one of these handy dandy flash drives, I will just send it to you.
And I do recommend that you do because I listened to your book on Audible, and I got the audio version, and man, it was so cool. It was beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
you read it, and you really act through every single character, it's just so rich to experience your book on audio, and it was
Thank you.
delightful. It's a really good place to get lost in a beautiful imagination world right now. If that's something that, like when I get really depressed, I get Harry Potter, and Winnie the Pooh, kind of things like, are things that sort of suck you into this beautiful world. And King Lillian was definitely like that for me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a
I
huge
cried
thing
a
to
little
say.
bit when it
Thank
was
you.
over. When it was over, I was like, oh, like it's
Oh, I mean,
over.
I'm sad that you're crying, but I'm so happy
Yeah,
that you got to that
it was,
place.
yeah,
That makes me feel good.
it was such a yummy time, and I was reading it during a time when I was having a little bit of a rough time,
Hmm.
it just was such a comfort to me. So I really recommend that anybody who
Thank you.
wants that like disappearing into a beautiful imagination world, read The Return of King Louis, get The Return of King Louis on Audible and listen to it.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
It's been so delightful, as always, or as usual. It feels as always, even though it's only been twice. But but it's so lovely to see your
Uh,
smiling face. And
yeah,
yes, I have to show all your
we have
acolytes
matching glasses.
that I have. We have matching glasses. That
Yeah,
in
very cool.
sisterhood. Yes, I can't push them all the way up, or else it's comedy. It's funny, it's bad. But this is, as readers, they work.
They're great. I love it. And let's end on one more note. What's your favorite funny movie?
My favorite funny movie that would come to me in a moment, I think I just said, is Young Frankenstein. It's just the most reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Young Frankenstein. If you, yeah,
I'm with
like
you. Any Mel Brooks movie and any old Peter Sellers movie.
yeah, and I'm telling you, would I lie to you? 9 seasons. So there's a lot to dip into. It's
Oh,
really, really delicious. And the
yeah.
other thing is to talk to and find the people in your life who get you to laugh with, that
Mm,
it's, that is really helpful too,
so good.
hugely at times. Like for me, not an expert, not writing a book about it.
Maybe you should, Susie.
You write it. You write it. You write it. I'll read it.
Suzie Plakson, thank you so much. Find Suzie at SuziePlakson.com and check her out. She's really lovely.
Thank you, Lisa.
Anyway, thanks.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Socially distant hug.
Mwah.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.